And welcome inside to the opening drive. Nick Kosko alongside Mike Antosiewicz. A chilly Monday morning here on the campus.
Watch,
of
next week
Rutgers.
it's going to be 80 degrees.
Yeah, watch. You know it's supposed to be 70 degrees today? It's 46 right now. It's going to be 70 in a couple hours. I mean, regardless of the crazy fall weather, we are here as always. Mike, I would say it was kind of a rough weekend, to say the least, for Rutgers athletics. Well, I would say maybe just the football team. The women's soccer team was on the call with Dom Savino yesterday. A little overtime victory over Wisconsin. First time they ever beat Wisconsin. So impressive job.
Great.
Impressive job by them. 1-0 overtime victory. But we're going to start the show, as we always do, with Rutgers football. And I will try not to dwell on this topic too much longer because there's really not much to say when you're talking about Rutgers football after just completely disgusting display of football. 56-0 if you weren't watching. Ohio State comes into Piscataway and absolutely just throttles Rutgers. Now, Mike, we both went into the game thinking, all right, they're probably going to get killed, but if they show a little bit of signs of life, it's progress over the last 2 years they've played this team. But it really wasn't. I mean, I said 49-7. They lose 56-0. Mike, they lost 49-7 2 years ago. They lost 58-0 last year on the road. They lose by virtually almost the same score, this time at home, with better players, and you would assume better coaching. It was just a bad display all 4 quarters.
Coming into this game, I actually had a stronger position than you did because I really believe that because of the losses to Eastern Michigan and then last week to Nebraska, Rutgers was not going to be able to improve their record. So that the only way they had
no shot at winning. No shot at winning.
The only way now they could demonstrate progress for recruits and salvage the season is to play teams like Ohio State close. And close means, lose by 24 points.
Maybe lose by two scores.
Two scores would be awesome. I was thinking like 3 touchdowns or something like that.
Show progress.
So I had a stronger position than you, but going into the game, I was on the pregame show, and I told Tim and RJ, I said, guys, you guys think they're only going to score 35 points. I think Ohio State's good at least for 45. I forget what my final score was, but I think it was like 13-45 or like 13-49 was my final score prediction.
Right.
And that's an improvement. You scored 3 times. You had 3 scoring drives on this Ohio State team, and you limit them to under 50 points. That would have been a demonstrable progress. And then they just let all the air out of the bag continually. It happened with the interception when they were driving for Juwan Harris, and it happened to a few other points of that game. There would be a nice defensive stop, it would be 3rd and long, and then there would be an open receiver. Or there would be a tackle for a loss on 2nd down, and then 3rd down there would be an open receiver. Or a tackle for a loss on 1st down, and then on 2nd down there would be an open receiver downfield. This team can't string plays together, and one way I was able to discern, or one way someone could discern that this team is better is that I think that if you let's say Ohio State had like 100 snaps on offense. Now,
right.
Rutgers won, let's say, 25% of those snaps. Like they stopped them completely. I don't know if Rutgers could do that last year, but the issue is for the other 75 of those snaps, they're just as bad as they were last year. So although you could look at the picture and go like this a little bit, move your try to look through it through your fingers moving up and down, and see it. See outlines of progress. They can't give it to you in an actual tangible package, and you have to speculate about it, and it's just going to hurt them in the long run. But this Illinois game, we're definitely going to talk about that this morning. But it is all the eggs are in that.
It's a must win.
All the eggs
and they
are
have
in
2
that
weeks
basket.
to prepare. They have 2 weeks to prepare. Now, we thought the blowouts might be over or at least less substantial, if you get what I'm talking about here. Last year, they get shut out by 4 separate Big Ten teams, usually the big powers of the Big Ten, especially in the East Division. That's Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State. All shutouts last year. Just terrible displays of football. Now, Mike, you and I were on the call the first game of the year, this year, against Washington. Washington, a playoff team last year. They came in to Piscataway, and I get West Coast trip might have affected them, but they come in. They're already ranked number 8 in the country. Rutgers plays them pretty well, even leading for most of the first half. They end up losing 30-14. Fine, you lost by 2 scores, but you showed progress defensively and even offensively in that game against a top 10 team and a team that was just in the playoff last year that gave Alabama a run for their money. And I get the losses to Eastern Michigan and Nebraska are absolutely deflating. And if they win those 2 games, we're probably talking about a different team right now. They're 3-2 after a blowout loss to Ohio State. But they're still in decent position, and they're already showing improvements over last year because they would have won a Big Ten road game. But now that the blowouts are back, Chris Ash was pestered at his post-game press conference. They said, "Are these blowouts coming back? Are these blowouts coming back? Why are you guys not doing it?" And this is what Ash had to say about possibly these blowouts coming back and Rutgers actually not improving over last year's performance.
Well, yeah, but we had to stay healthy. We were down 3 starters in the secondary, and we were already thin in the secondary to begin with. That killed us, obviously. We gave up some really big pass plays in the first half that you just can't do, against a good team, and that just got us in a hole, and we can't overcome that. It's just we're not good enough to do that. But we'll keep fighting. We'll hopefully get a good report tomorrow that it won't be long term with those guys and get them back.
I mean, you heard him just say right there, we're not good enough. Obviously,
that's the fact of the matter, and I've been saying this. I appreciate the.
At least he's blunt and honest about it.
I appreciate how candid this coaching staff has been. I believe everything they're telling us. The only thing I think they've I don't use the term lie, but exaggerated about was the secondary. They made it sound like the secondary was going to be a force to be reckoned with. And the fact of the matter is the secondary has looked weak the entire season, at least from my view. But it just
Mike, it doesn't help that Blaswan Austin is out for the season. That definitely puts a huge hole in the secondary. And you're right. I don't think they are as good as everybody hyped them up to be. Everybody, even outside Rutgers, was saying, "Oh wow, Rutgers has a really good secondary. They've been playing together for 3 years now. They're probably going to be one of the top 3 secondaries in the Big Ten." That's not even close because they have to salvage the rest of the defense. Even though this defense has improved, there's no push up front. Your secondary is still giving up a couple big plays.
And you only have 2 interior defensive linemen.
Exactly. There's not enough depth on this defense to warrant saying that secondary is that good. Sure, is there a lot of talented depth? I think so, but it's not on display because you're still going up against these big powerhouses in the Big Ten like Ohio State, and they still have to play Penn State and Michigan this season. What do you think they're going to do to this team?
I mean, I just don't know because injuries now is actually a real factor. And I wasn't planning to talk about this morning, but I mean, if you're in a long-term injury in the secondary, you could almost guarantee no victory against Illinois, but blowout losses to Michigan and Penn State. You could almost guarantee it if there's a long-term.
Well, if you have poor secondary play has been their Achilles heel on defense for the most part. I mean, I get they're undersized and they're also young on defense, but when you have poor secondary play as they had last year, and it's now showing this year, if you have those big plays, people don't realize how deflating that is to a team. The fact that they are going to give up 50-yard touchdowns and every other drive, it just kills anything you have going.
But it's also situational, as I said, because, they won a bunch of snaps last game. There were a bunch of snaps where Ohio State didn't pick up any yards, where they pressured J.T. Barrett.
I'll tell you what, the defense had their spots in the first half.
Then a 50-yard touchdown ensues after they make a tackle for a loss for a yard, or they stop Mike Weber only for him to return to the line of scrimmage, right, for no gain. That's what's, I think, frustrating for the fan, but that's what kills this team. They can't string anything together. And what we're seeing now is not only can they not string things together across different units of the ball, right, across defense, offense, and special teams, right, there's no internal consistency there. There's nothing's complementing each other. Is that each unit can't string anything together, and that's an issue too. In the Nebraska game, the defense had one good drive, but then the offense hurt them, and then maybe the offense had a few first downs, but then the defense came back, and then they let Nebraska to drive a bit, and then the offense had to start the next series all the way backed up. I mean, that's when your different units don't complement each other. Now, this game, and it's expected. I understand it's Ohio State, but they didn't even help themselves. You get a stop on second down. It's 3rd and 9. Okay,
that's the time to get off the field if you're the defense.
That's the time to get off the field. You know what I mean? Like they don't help themselves in any situation.
They really don't.
And then they make these terrible mistakes. You know, Juwan Harrison with I don't say allowing the interception. It wasn't completely Juwan Harris's fault, but I mean that was a major disappointment right there. And then honestly, dude, when I never saw such a look of befuddlement in my life on a football coach as I saw when Ash saw the missed kick at the end of the game, right? Hart kicks like a 33-yard field goal or something,
and he dinged it off the post.
He dinged it off the post. The Big Ten cameras then turned to Ash, and it was pure. His face was pure befuddlement. He just didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to say. He didn't know how to react. And I'm telling you, I feel bad for the guy because
he's in the worst possible situation you could ever put a coach in. And people are questioning this culture around this football team, considering there was signs of improvement to start the year. Then they lose to Eastern Michigan, and now they're kind of heading back into that bad direction. That you don't know where the program's going right now. But I'm glad at least Ash can fire back and say, this is my football team. And he kind of expanded more on that in the post-game presser when people pressed him on the issue of where's this culture going in this football team.
We have to coach, we have to develop, we got to recruit, we got to continue to build on our culture. I love the culture that we have. I love our football team. I said that way back at the start, and I'm not going to back away from that. I love coming in here to work every single day with these guys. They got a great attitude. They love each other. They work extremely hard. We got to coach better. We got to develop and continue to recruit. That's it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything he says. I think he's being completely honest, but
he's literally in the
where does that get you? You know what I mean? And the last phrase,
well, you have to,
the last clause, we need to continue to recruit. That is everything in college football. In
my mind, he can only do so much. I've criticized him this year because of the conservative coaching and the fact that also his offensive coordinator Jerry Kill, who was brought in to kind of revitalize the offense, and he is a very experienced coach. He literally said the other day, basically, his job was to keep the score close. That's not the type of mentality you want to have. Your job is to score enough points to beat the other team. I don't care who it is. They could be playing Alabama on the road. If you have the mindset to say, we're going to score enough points to keep it close, you're never going to win any football game, no matter who you play. They need to change their mentality that's saying, despite the talent gap in the Big Ten, Rutgers needs to be able to say, you know what, we're going to put our foot on the gas pedal. We're going to put all our eggs in one basket. We're going to go out and try to win a ball game. Even if it's Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, they're 3 toughest opponents on the schedule. You can't go into the game saying, "Oh, look, we're going to keep the score close. We just want to play well enough to show that we've made progress. And that'll help the recruiting." You know what helps recruiting? Pulling off a couple upsets. Not that that's going to happen this season, but that's what helps out.
Again, we don't know.
You need the mentality that you need to be able to win a football game. You can't say, we want to keep it close. What kind of a mentality is that? That's terrible.
Now you're starting to sound like me. You're getting irritated and
Well,
aggravated.
Mike, I was kind of excited about the cold weather today, actually. I got a little, it's not hot today, so I just felt like, you know what, I need to jazz myself up today. And this was getting me jazzed up because this team has pushed me to the brink of where they mismanage the quarterbacks. They're doing the same thing as last year, mismanaging a freshman quarterback like Tyler Noda and now Jonathan Lewis. They don't know what they're doing on offense. The defense has showed improvements.
And he can't throw the ball.
Mike, they're all over the place.
No, I don't think...
They're all over the place. Redshirt the kid then. Why play him? I know he's the future of the program. You need to redshirt him. Get him ready. This is what I said when he got recruited here. You don't play him. Is he ready physically? Maybe. Can he throw the ball? Not really. Can he run a bit? Redshirt him. But it's too late now, so you might as well start him.
No. Because he's not ruined yet. And you don't want to put him in a situation where he's going up against these Big Ten teams.
You just lost a year of his development. What, are you going to put him on the bench and let Bolin keep taking the team? Bolin's a game manager at this point. They also made a big mistake naming Bolin a captain. If they named Bolin captain,
the coaching staff didn't do that.
That's on the players. That's on the players. You made your quarterback your captain.
When you say they, that's
everybody.
The players did that because he came in, Nick, and he demonstrated those captain qualities. And that's something.
Sure, look how far that's gotten me.
Nick,
Seriously.
But Nick, I mean, again, I look at Bolin and I don't say to myself,
I'm sure he's a good leader. He's not your quarterback.
What a jerk. I mean, the guy can't throw the ball and everything. I look at him and say, you poor guy. You have some limitations, but they put you in offense where every single one of those limitations are going to show. You don't have the greatest arm, so you know what they're going to do. And you know what they do? They make him throw lofty balls to the Kofi
You're
Bailey
expanding my
on
point
the
how the
sideline.
coaching's been terrible this year.
The coaching's been terrible, but I don't stay up at night, biting my lips because Kyle Bolin can't complete a pass. It's not Kyle Bolin's fault entirely.
Not always.
You know what I mean? A lot of these players,
they
not
need
their
to be
fault.
able.
They're
They
at a
don't
certain
utilize the talent
level,
they have.
and right now they were recruited by a program. The majority of these players were recruited by a program for a talent level that was not this talent level. Flood was not a good recruit. Even if Rutgers was in the Big Ten, Rutgers was not going to have a great team because
Flood
he did not
inherited the greatest recruiting class that Schiano ever got in here. That's why they were literally seconds away from going to the Orange Bowl back in 2012 until, of course, Gary Nova and Teddy Bridgewater kind of role reversed there. Bridgewater with one leg and one arm won the game, and Nova threw a couple picks, and Rutgers blew the game against Louisville. After that, Flood has not done anything in the recruiting department, and his recruiting class when Ash came in and took over, he had about a month left to recruit when he came in and took over as head coach. Flood's recruiting class, that's really Flood's recruiting class. They were 64th. Ash, in my mind, has done a decent job at recruiting because their classes have been in the 40s nationwide. That's pretty good for a guy who has never been a head coach, who's going up against Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Michigan State, among other schools in the Big Ten in his own division, especially with Penn State across the border of the state. He's done a decent job, but they have to do better. And I hate to use wrestling as an example, but I was telling our good buddy Danny Friedman yesterday, I was telling him this. They need to take a model after wrestling. Coach Goodell, he was a high school coach in New Jersey. And I get New Jersey, great high school wrestling state. But he was a high school coach, then goes straight from there to a Division I program in Rutgers, and it takes a while to build. But look what he's done over 10 years. He continually goes after the top recruits. He may not get all of them, but once you get that first one, if you keep trying, the dominoes start to fall. Look where they are now. This team's going to be a perennial top 10 team for years to come. Could be a top 5 team within the next year or two.
As long as Jersey remains a great wrestling state at the high school level, which
I don't foresee that ever changing.
I don't foresee that ever changing. No, Nick, I agree with everything you just said, but here's a difference. Here's one thing we should point out.
Wrestling and football are
this
completely
actually
different.
is real progress. Is because when Schiano left, there was talk about by Pernetti was the AD at the time about him having a list, and there's a few people on the list.
Mario
right?
Cristobal's on the list. Did you see that?
Mario Cristobal was on the list. But one issue was that Pernetti did not have a war chest. By war chest, I mean financial resources to go out and
There's
hire
still no
that
money
good
in this
coach.
program.
Because you had a hot job at that point that just got its best recruiting class.
But guess what? You can't spend any money because you don't have any, and all of a sudden you have to get yourself your offensive line coach.
Didn't let Pernetti sell any money, and I'm not saying that the university was right or wrong, but my point is this is a difference now is that if the university decided to give Pernetti some leeway and a war chest then, and they got like Mario Cristobal, and they improved the rankings of the program, maybe we're not in this position today. But what happened was they got Flood because he was in their pay range, and then everything else
also on the staff already, and they basically kept the entire staff by promoting him.
Everything remained stagnant except the offensive coordinator left, and then now we're in the situation where Hobbs came in. And Ash came in. They came in together, basically, and they talked to each other, and they had the same vision. They said, listen, this is what needs to get done. We need new facilities. We need this. We need a new practice ground. We need to totally reinvest the way we do recruiting. We need to make all these changes right now.
And I get that's going to take a long time.
Yeah, but Nick, the point is, like, right now, the good thing about this program is that it's not a matter about, if they need the right offensive coordinator. There are deeper issues than that, and at least those deeper issues now are being addressed so that if a if Ash leaves in 3 years' time or 2 years' time, I don't know. I hope he's here for another 10 years because that means he succeeds. But if Ash leaves in 3 years' time, at least the next guy comes in here could say, well, listen, Ash came in and got facilities. I have facilities now. Now I'll do the next. I have at least the foundation. I have a stepping stone. I have a platform to step off of. At least that change is occurring right now. So although it's hard right now because we're trapped in the Ash era, and I always talk about the energy needed for the energy needed to recruit well, and how that energy in the Ash era seems to be dissipating from week to week. The program itself has made a leap with Ash. It has facilities now. It's trying
as
to
far
be
as
like
the
a Big Ten
underlying
school.
issues, yes.
So that's one thing we should keep in mind. And the fact that I'm saying this is unbelievable because I'm the most pessimistic person at this whole station, but it's the fact of the matter, Nick. It's just the fact of the matter.
You're right, and somehow you're always the voice of reason. You've calmed me down now. So with that, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll talk a little bit about the Major League Baseball playoffs. Yes, the regular season's over. The playoffs are finally here. Start tomorrow, actually, the first wild card game. I'm excited for my Red Sox. We'll talk all about that. We'll break it down, give our picks, and we'll get into some NFL later. So make sure.
Please.
What's that?
The New York Giants.
Oh, the Giants.
I feel bad for the Giant fan.
No, you don't. We'll get
no, because Nick, they really don't know how to deal with this.
That's true. But
they really don't know how to deal with this.
That's all right. But we'll get into that later in the show. Make sure to keep it locked. You listen to the opening drive here on 88.7 WRSU FM and online at WRSU.org. Welcome back inside to the opening drive. Nick Kosko alongside Mike Antosiewicz.
Do you think Pavlichko is going to be here soon? Are going to be able to play the theme song this morning?
Well, hopefully, but we'll get that prepped up then if he actually makes an appearance today. Well, we'll move on. Major League Baseball playoffs are upon us. The wild card starts tomorrow with Yankees Twins. I'll tell you what, Mike. I'm excited. I love baseball. Sometimes the regular season to me just drags on a bit. Obviously, 162 games when you start in April and don't end until October. But you know what? I'm excited. I'll tell you right now. I'm excited, and my Red Sox finally won the division, so I could say I'm thrilled about that. But now that the playoffs are here, I think it's time to break it down a little bit and make our picks. And I get it's tough with the wild card because if, say, we pick the wild card team to win the World Series and they lose tomorrow night, well, you're SOL at that point, buddy. But I guess we'll start out, and I know you don't watch as much baseball. Your head is stuck in the classics library, studying for that. What are you writing? A 100-page thesis this semester?
Please, let's not even talk about that.
Let's not even talk about that? All right, well, we'll not talk about that, but people know you're busy. First wildcard game is tomorrow, Yankees and Twins. The Yankees will host
Minnesota. I might actually watch this.
I think it's interesting. The fact that, obviously the Yankees are pretty good this year. I didn't think they'd be this good this year. I figured they'd be...
No, the Aaron Judge was going to be this good.
Well, no, when you think about it, the Yankees, to me, were a very young team. I figured they would take their lickings and they'd probably go around 500, maybe a little bit better than that, and just miss out on the playoffs. They were really good this year, and it's in big part to Aaron Judge, just considering he hit 52 bombs this year, a lot in Yankee Stadium, but that's beside the point. He was phenomenal this year. He's an easy shoo-in for Rookie of the Year. Aside from that, they've gotten a lot of production, and their pitching has been very good. But the Twins, Mike, I think that's the biggest surprise of the year, especially in the American League. When you look at the Twins, they lost over 100 games last season. To me, that is the biggest sign of progress in Major League Baseball. The Twins are right in the playoffs, and guess what? I'm going to pick the Yankees tomorrow night just because I think that they're the much better team. But wouldn't it be a ratings nightmare and a disaster for Major League Baseball if the Twins go into Yankee Stadium, beat them tomorrow, and then it's Minnesota versus Cleveland and not the Yankees versus Cleveland? I think that'd be the biggest disaster for baseball. And much as I hate the Yankees, I think they need to be in the division series.
I think last year you couldn't top what happened last year in the World Series.
No, not at all.
So the ratings are going to be down this year anyway. I think they expected that. At this point, they're just trying to optimize the situation.
But can you imagine if the Yankees getting in and they can't win the wild card game?
I agree with you. The Yankees obviously are a big attraction, and the Cleveland, New York is a more compelling matchup. But it's going to be a letdown this year no matter what, because last year was so.
It's tough to top
So
Cubs
interesting.
Indians Game 7 when that was one of the greatest Game 7s you ever see. It's really tough to top that. But I am gonna pick the Yankees just because they're at home. They're probably gonna throw Severino on the mound. Aaron Judge is back. He's back to where he was in the first half of the season.
And as you said earlier, the majority of his home runs come at home. He feels great.
I think he's had 33 at home this year.
Yeah.
And something like that.
So again, the majority of his home runs are at home, which means he's going to be in a very comfortable
Yeah.
position to,
Well,
to,
and
to slug a few out of the park.
and we're also going to see if he's good in the playoffs as well. The NL wild card on. So you're going to go with the Yankees tomorrow night.
Yes.
So now we have the NL wild card. This is going to be on Wednesday night. This is Colorado at Arizona. 3 teams from the NL West have made it. Dodgers obviously the number 1 seed in the National League. But Colorado and Arizona, Mike, these are the 2 surprise teams in the National League. They played well all season long. And all of a sudden, you have an interesting wild card matchup for the National League. But the Diamondbacks have been more consistent. But I'm kind of inclined to pick the Rockies a bit. I don't know. I like the Rockies for some reason. But I feel like, I don't know. This is a tough one to call. To me, this is a toss-up. I know you don't know much about Colorado or Arizona, but I would assume that Arizona's going to throw Zach Greinke on the mound. I think in that case, if you have the better ace, and let's see if he does better in the postseason, I might have to roll with the Diamondbacks. I like the Rockies, but I think I'm going to go with both home teams in the wild card games here. I'm going to go Yankees tomorrow night, and I think I'm going to stick with the Diamondbacks at home. So the Diamondbacks will be going to L.A. for a division series. How about you?
I'll go Diamondbacks.
Diamondbacks. Well, we'll leave your analysis right there at that. Now we'll go to the actual playoffs here after the wild card game. So now on Thursday, this is where my team, the Red Sox, they start. They're at the Astros. They actually just played the Astros in a 4-game set. Lost 3 of 4, but that one win was to clinch the division. So the all-important division-winning game there. And they kind of just rested everybody in the season finale just yesterday. So it'll be Boston at Houston. Game 1 is Thursday at 4 p.m. They're obviously going to give the primetime spot to the Indians. So, based on my predictions, Mike, I have the Yankees against the Indians, and and obviously the Red Sox against the Astros. I might play the homer card a little bit. The Red Sox kind of worry me just a bit, just because the offense, despite the offense being pretty solid, they've been inconsistent as of late, and you don't know what you're going to get out of the Red Sox pitching. They have Chris Sale. Chris Sale was the big money get this offseason. He was the guy who was supposed to sharpen up, be the front guy in the rotation, sharpen them up, and kind of lead everybody behind him. Rick Porcello won the Cy Young last year. He's been pretty much awful this year, except for a nice little stretch. Drew Pomeranz has been their second-best pitcher, but David Price was not good as a starter, and they're putting him in the bullpen now.
He's a bullpen pitcher.
He's back in the bullpen. So I think he could be great in the bullpen, a la Andrew Miller from last year. And Price has shown in the postseason he's great in the bullpen. But as far as their starters, I think Sale can be great. Never seen him in the postseason, though, because he's been with the White Sox his whole career. But I think he can be great, and he'll obviously get the ball game 1 on Thursday. If the Red Sox come out in Houston and Sale pitches a great game and they win, they're up 1-0, you throw Pomeranz out there for game 2. And then the game 3 decision is going to be interesting for the Red Sox. So they throw Porcello out there. They're going to throw Doug Fister. Doug Fister worries me a lot. I don't know what Porcello can give you in the playoffs as well. Do you throw Eduardo Rodriguez in there? There's a lot of variables here. Or do you even say, you know what? We're putting Price out there on the mound. But I don't know. I think if the Red Sox could win game 1.
I don't think they would do that.
No,
I don't think
at
they
this
would do
point,
that.
no. But it wouldn't shock me because Farrell is kind of all over the place as the manager. But when you talk about this Red Sox rotation, I think that as long as they throw Sale game 1, they win game 1. Even if they split the first 2 games, if they can win when Sale starts and they go back to Boston game 3 tied 1-1, they're in a much better spot.
You're also in a much better spot too, because now you have a weaker pitcher pitching, but at home.
Yeah, and now you have you have
mean?
2 games at home, game 3 and game 4. So it helps out.
Yeah. So
I am actually going to roll. Like I said, I'm going to play the homer card a little bit, but I think as long as Sale pitches great and the offense stays consistent, and as long as Mookie's healthy, and maybe hopefully they get Eduardo Nunez back as well, they're going to ride their hot rookies in Andrew Benintendi and Rafael Devers. Obviously, you still have Mookie Betts. Hanley seems to be getting back to where he was, and if Nunez plays, they're in a really good spot. Like I said, there's a lot of variables that need to come right for them to beat the Astros. The Astros are really good this year. But I think I'm going to go with the Red Sox. I think if Sale pitches great in game 1, I think the Red Sox can win in 4 games. They'll win in Boston Game 4. They'll split the first 2, but win the next 2 at home. They've been playing really well at home this year. I'm going to go with my Red Sox in 4 over the Astros. Even if they win in 5, I'm going to pick the Astros to drop the series to the Red Sox. So I'll go with the Red Sox to get to the ALCS and overcome last year's sweep in the first round of the Cleveland Indians. Yeah, Boston or Houston this first round?
I think if Sale pitches Game 1 and Red Sox win, I think the Red Sox will win the series.
But it's all dependent on that Game 1.
I think Game 1 is going to, because if you look at the pitching rotation, how that works.
Houston has a much better pitching rotation right now.
Oh, absolutely. And so that's why I think if Sale is able to win Game 1 for the Red Sox, I have the Red Sox winning the series.
So you have so we both have Boston then. If you're gonna,
but
dependent upon Sale.
Depending upon Game 1.
So right now you're gonna count on Sale winning Game 1, pitching great.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll both go with Boston. That's fine. I'm glad you agree with me on that one. All right, we'll go to the next one. It's going to be, excuse me, Yankees at. Jeez, I need some more water this morning. Yankees at Indians. We both have the Yankees win the wild card game. You know, I
think the Indians.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly would pick the Yankees if they were playing Houston. I don't know why, but they're playing Cleveland. Cleveland's too good, way too good. But I feel like everyone's going to pick Cleveland, so maybe the Yankees will win. But I'm going to go with Cleveland. How about you? You're going to go with Cleveland?
Yeah.
I think the Yankees will steal a game,
better
though.
team. Holistically, they're a better team.
They're way better. Cleveland in 4. I'm going to go with Cleveland. So I have Cleveland and Boston as my ALCS, and it's a rematch of last year's ALDS series. I can't go with Boston. I picked Boston to win the World Series last year just based on their offense last year, but I can't do it this year. Cleveland's way too good. If it's Red Sox, Indians in the ALCS, you have games 1 and 2 in Cleveland. I'm gonna pick the Indians in 5. The Red Sox are just not up to speed with the Indians. The Indians are too hot. They're way too good. I'm gonna go with Cleveland to get back to the World Series, and plus I think Terry Francona is gonna beat his former team again. Red Sox, Indians, ALCS, but I have to go with Cleveland. I can't pick my Red Sox in the ALCS against the Indians. If you're playing the Yankees, that's different. But
I think Cleveland has too much depth and
too much depth. Pitching's great.
Past Sale, they're in a really tough spot.
And
then you also don't know,
Sale's gonna need to win at least 2 games.
And also, you don't know what happens in the Houston series. Maybe Sale for some reason has to play again on short rest or something because they're
exactly.
So that means he comes into the Indian series already tired. It's not a good equation. That's why I think any chance of the Red Sox, if there's any chance the Red Sox
to get to the World Series,
if the Red Sox have any chance to beat the Indians in a series, that Sale has to win Game 1 for Houston because you need to get out of Houston as fresh as possible.
Exactly. Yes.
So that you could expend everything on
Cleveland. And then you can rest for the World Series, and you never know who you might get there. We both have Cleveland. So our AL picks are the same. So we both have Cleveland going to the World Series. I think we agree on every pick last year for the baseball playoffs. All right, so we'll go over to the National League. So we have Cubs, Nationals, the defending champs, going against
I hate the
Washington.
Nationals, but I also hate the Cubs because as a Mets fan. Why don't we talk about the departing of our dear old Terry Collins?
Terry Collins, he didn't get fired. He just resigned. I don't blame him. He got the heck out of New York. Why would you want to? The Mets are a dumpster fire. It really is. They really are. They're more of a dumpster fire than the Jets now. Do you realize that? The Jets.
No.
The Jets are 500, Mike. I know we'll get into the Jets a little bit. The Jets are tied with the Patriots. Can you believe that?
It's amazing.
Can you believe that?
It's amazing. We need to talk about that Patriot team, but you know what's really amazing? That they're playing Cleveland next week.
They're going to be 3-2. Cleveland's the worst team in the league. All right, we'll get into football soon. Cubs Nationals to me is the marquee series of the division series for all the playoffs. The Nationals have Bryce Harper back. I think that makes a huge difference. But the Cubs kind of got hot at the end of the year. Now they're back to playing almost where they were last year. I would love to pick the defending champs again to try to get back to the NLCS and even try to get to the World Series and get a repeat going. Wouldn't you love Cubs Indians again? First rematch in a long time. I would love that. That'd be nice.
I mean, I really don't like either of these teams.
To me, Mike, I think
from a TV standpoint, Cubs Indians would certainly be
of course
better.
I'm going to go with the Nationals. I think that they're just playing better. They obviously have Scherzer. They have Strasburg. The Cubs, I mean, they do have Lester on the mound, and he's great in the postseason all the time. Arrieta could turn up at any moment, or even like Kyle Hendricks has been their best pitcher right now. And the Cubs obviously still have the young crop of talent, and Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, all those guys. But I think the defending champs got hot a little too late, and the Nationals getting Bryce Harper back makes a huge difference in my mind. I'm going to go with the Nationals. I think we're going to see a 5-game series here. I'll go with Nationals in 5.
I don't know. The Cubs have this bravado. I'm going to pick Cubs.
You pick the Cubs? I mean, I don't blame you. They got hot. They're the champs. You never know. So you
There's
got
an
Cubs.
experience factor there. I just got. And again, as you said,
And the Nationals never win playoff
They got
series.
hot too late, but you know what?
They're still hot.
They're still hot, and there's 2 Super Bowl winning teams in the past 10 years that got hot too late and won Super Bowls, and those are the Giants.
It's a little low blow there to the Giants.
No, it's the fact that the
That's
Giant
true.
fan will tell you that too. That's what makes those runs so amazing and so remarkable if you're a football fan to watch them. But same thing there. Oh, they got hot too late. The fact of the matter is they were hot. So Cubs are hot. I'm going to pick
It's always
Cubs.
about all right. So you got the Cubs. So I got the Nationals. You got the Cubs. We finally differ on something. In terms of I think the first time in 2 years of this show we differ on the playoff picks. The other series we both have the Diamondbacks, correct, in the wild card game over the Rockies.
Oh, yeah.
I think the Dodgers are too good, despite the fact they basically gaffed all of August and they looked awful. Still in over 100 games. They're still the Dodgers. They still have Kershaw. They still have Cody Bellinger. They have Trey Turner. They have so much talent. The Dodgers are probably, on paper, the best team in the Major League Baseball. You can make the argument they're better than the Indians, but that huge August gaff where they just choked away a lot of games, tough to watch, but I think they've rebounded at this point. I don't think the Diamondbacks. Can you imagine if the Diamondbacks get to the NLCS? I talk about ratings disaster if the Yankees lose, or if the Diamondbacks beat the Dodgers. I don't foresee that. I'm going to easily pick the Dodgers here. I have Dodgers, Nationals, NLCS.
I have Cubs, Cubs, Dodgers, NLCS.
All right, so we're down to we both have the Indians in the World Series. Who faces the Indians in the World Series? I have Dodgers, Nationals. Here's what's interesting: the Dodgers play well, and then they choke. The Nationals never win a playoff series. Could this be the year for the Nationals? The NL to me is so wide open because the Dodgers.
It's like the NFC of the NFL.
Yeah, you don't know what you're getting out of the Dodgers.
Actually, the AFC too is completely wide open.
That's true.
So,
well, when you look at the National League, I mean, in the American League, you have the Indians, the Astros, 2 great teams. Could be either one of them, but most people are going to pick the Indians. And then you never know what happens. You never know the Red Sox could get hot, or the Yankees could all of a sudden just turn it up. You never know. The AL is so much more stacked in the playoffs. The NL is all over the place. Your defending champions are kind of average, but now they're hot. The Dodgers were awful last month, still the number 1 seed. The Nationals never won a playoff series, but then they have Harper back, and they still have 2 stud pitchers at the top of the rotation. And then you don't know what you're getting out of the 2 wildcard teams in Colorado and Arizona, who have both. Arizona's been good this year. They've been great teams this year. I think I'm going to go with Washington. I think this is the year they finally break through and get to the World Series. I think the Dodgers just showed they have too many holes during the regular season where they just lost. They lost 20 of 25 games or something along those lines. I think I'm going to go with the Nationals to represent the National League in the World Series. I have Washington, Cleveland as my 2017 World Series.
Wow, the Nationals? I can't see that. I just, they don't win.
They're
like the Washington Capitals in the NHL.
It's true. I mean, but the National League is such a crapshoot this year. I'm going to go with the Nationals. They have to. They have to do it some year.
See, this thing for me is like I think Dodgers are obviously better than the Cubs, but I think that if the Cubs, because they're on this streak, if they beat the Nationals, that streak continues, and now they're on.
They have the magic again.
Even a stronger upswing.
You rolling with the Cubbies?
I'm going to go with the Cubs.
Rolling with the Cubbies.
If they beat the Nationals, they're on a roll. I'm going to go with the Cubs.
Interesting. So you have a rematch of last year. You have the Chicago Cubs, and the Cleveland Indians in the World Series. I have the Indians and the Nationals. I'm going to go with the Indians, hands down. They were my pick.
I'm going to go in a rematch. I go Indians.
Yeah, so we'll both go Indians. So there we go. Mike and I have both of the Indians winning the World Series. The only thing we differed on this year is the National League, actually. So you have the Cubs. I have the Nationals. From there, so I have Indians, Nationals. You have Indians, Cubs. Both of the Indians win the World Series. Those are our Major League Baseball playoff picks. Make sure to watch tomorrow as the Yankees.
Amen.
Make sure to watch tomorrow as the Yankees take on the Twins in the wild card game, and then the day after that we have Colorado at Arizona. Then the playoffs are just get in full swing on Thursday.
And now we're
I'm
going to talk
excited.
about NFL football.
Of course we will. So we're going to take a quick break.
The league.
Of course. Make sure to tune back next week as well to see how wrong our playoff picks are. So on the other side of this break, we're talking a little bit NFL. Some interesting storylines from the weekend, including the Jets 500. The Patriots are 500 too. The Giants are 0-4. And my Eagles stole a win on the road.
There is so many interesting storylines in the end. This was one of the most interesting. I didn't.
It was a good week.
I didn't watch it this week.
It was a
but,
good week, though.
I keep track of the scores. This was the most interesting week.
It was a good week
in a long time.
Definitely a good week of football. We're going to take a quick break. Make sure to keep it locked. You're listening to the opening drive here on 88.7 WRSU FM and online at WRSU.org. Welcome back inside to the opening drive. 8:43, about 16, 17 minutes to go. Finish up the show as we always do with the NFL. We just gave you our MLB postseason predictions and had a nice little spiel about Rutgers football the start of the show. So thank you for joining us. Nick Kosko alongside Mike Antosiewicz here every Monday, 8 to 9 a.m. on this very station, 88.7 WRSU FM. And also online at WRSU.org. Download our app too, the WRSU app from the App Store. Don't forget, Mike and I have these shows posted on YouTube now. Not immediately following the show, but at some point before the afternoon, this will be back on YouTube. Third week in a row. I think we're getting decent viewers on YouTube, Mike. I'm glad we went with the idea this year. Little radio to video this year. It works out.
It works, yeah.
It works out. And
of course, you have to look at us, but
well, yeah, that's true. And they have to look at it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. You stole my insult, but all right. NFL talk now, Mike.
No, it's not an insult. It's an observation.
Well, that's a good point. It's a good point. You're right. NFL scoreboard from around the league on this. I thought it was a good football weekend, Mike. I thought we had some surprising scores and some good storylines this weekend.
I'm going to provide a quick commentary on this, right? So, okay, let's go through this.
Well, we were Packers over Bears on Thursday night was obvious.
Oh, they need to make the switch to Trubisky. They just need to.
At this point, yes. Probably. Everybody's crying for it. How about that? I didn't watch too much of it, but how about that London game on Sunday morning?
Yeah, the Dolphins just need to implode.
The Dolphins look awful.
Jay Cutler is I feel bad for Adam Gase.
I get Adam Gase wanting to get on get Jay Cutler because what do you have? Matt Moore. I mean, but then again, Matt Moore played well last year. But if you want to take a chance and build on what you did last year, Jay Cutler was the chance, and Adam Gase knows Jay Cutler, and vice versa. He played well with them. I get the risk there, but it's just it's imploded in their face. How about the Bills going on the road, beating the Atlanta Falcons? Sean McDermott has done a good job. The Bills are 3-1. They're in first place in the AFC East.
I think that this game proved the Bills are legitimate, but legitimate doesn't mean they're a legitimate contender or they're legitimate for the playoffs. I still would be shocked.
They're just a legitimate football team.
They're a legitimate football team, as in, I could see them being a 9-win team. I still don't think they'll win the division.
No, Patriots are going to win the division.
You have to pick Mr. Belichick and Mr. Brady before the Bills right now.
Mr. Belichick, Mr. Brady.
But this is what I have to say, though. You can't look too far into this victory if you're a Bills fan. You have to be cautious about this. The
Falcons were exposed in week 1 against the Bears.
Yeah, exactly. The Falcons are an exposed team. Last year they weren't a very strong Super Bowl team, although they do have a high-powered offense. But they weren't a very strong Super Bowl team. That defense has a lot to be desired, and they right out of the gate they didn't look very good this year. And they should have lost last week to Detroit. The Falcons.
And they should have lost to Chicago for week 1.
And they should have lost to Chicago week 1. So you the fact that you went on the road makes this impressive. Because they do have a home field advantage, but you have to be cautious about this for the following reasons, because they're not the strongest team in the world. But also, if you look at the way they won, there were a lot of good scramble plays, good plays with his feet on the part of Tyrod Taylor, right? And specifically to Charles Clay, his tight end, that used to be a Miami Dolphin. It's amazing the talent that just circulates through the AFC East.
Isn't that crazy?
But within the AFC East, excuse me. But if you look at those catches, I mean, great balls by Tyrod Taylor. Charles Clay is a big guy, but Charles Clay is not Gronkowski. He's not somebody that could consistently do that. And especially if you look at some of those throws later in the game. I mean, there's such tight windows, and they're crazy throws. And yes, Tyrod Taylor, you did a good job, but if you were playing against a better secondary, if you were going against the Seattle secondary, let's say, or something like that, those throws are most likely are not going to be completed. I mean, you made big plays against a defense that is susceptible to giving up big plays because, they're not the most technically sound defense in the world. They're not the best defense in the world. So it's great the big plays happen today, but the reliance on those big plays throughout that game, the fact they didn't just go out there and run the ball and just run over them.
Right.
And you could say, okay, now that could be a consistent winning formula. They didn't show anything today. They didn't show anything yesterday that made me say to myself, oh, they have a consistent winning formula. Because if your winning formula is going to be, make Tyrod Taylor run around and throw to wide open receivers.
Yeah, let's be honest. He's not Michael Vick in his prime.
In double coverage, you know that's not going to be the winning formula there. So the Bills fans should be happy, but they should be cautious.
You can't write home about this victory. It's definitely a good victory.
And I think we have a surprise. Oh my God!
And we do.
It's happening.
I don't know what's going on. What's happening?
He's in.
He just snuck through the door. A little later than usual. Where were you?
Hello, guys.
Did you hit traffic or something this early?
Yeah, I got the kids off to the late start.
No, that's
He forgot to shave. That's what happens.
You should. How much can you grow out that beard?
Well, last time I shaved was Saturday, so no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That's only 2 days. How much
shaved in about a?
How much can you grow that out? Can you get like a full mountain man?
I haven't shaved in about a week.
Can you get it so long we could braid it?
That's a week's worth right there.
I could get it a lot more. It will drive me crazy. Because it'll start.
That's what I can do too. But
itching and
you look so wise.
I got you fooled.
See, exactly, it works out.
See,
at
least I'm off camera. They don't have to look at me.
Well, you're on camera when you walk in.
Yeah, I know.
So they know who you are, but
they have the side profile.
Oh gosh.
Mike, we were discussing.
It's even worse.
Mike, we were discussing a good NFL weekend. There's some surprises, and
I didn't watch a minute of it.
Well, we were
I enjoy hearing you guys talk about it.
Of course,
but
we were just about to move on to the next game. How about the LA Rams going on the road and beating America's team, the Dallas Cowboys? You got like with the Rams.
Everybody here except Chris Christie loves when they beat America's team.
I know. I love seeing that. But how about the job? He's younger than me. Sean McVay, the head coach of the LA Rams. What a job he's done so far. 3-1 the Rams. They're in first place. The LA Rams, first place.
If I follow it less than...
I follow less than Antosh.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the Jets being 500?
I think the Mets are a bigger dumpster fire.
See? I told you. Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 against 1 here. The Mets are a bigger dumpster fire.
The Mets are amazing. The only team that could be in a World Series.
We could do a little potpourri right here.
And within a couple of years be such a disaster. Oh, wait. What about my Devils?
We're not.
They haven't made the playoffs since making the Stanley Cup Finals.
Mike, I'm not even close to hockey mode yet.
Well,
I'm not even in basketball mode yet.
They might have been a bigger dumpster fire the last few years.
What, the Devils? No.
No, they're just bad.
It's more than
they're not a dumpster fire. They've just been bad.
It's been more than a few years.
Bad.
At least for the Mets, they did 2 years ago. They were in the World Series. So
Devils, what was it? 2012?
Yes.
Were in the,
yes, so that was that's 5 years already.
But they haven't been in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Everybody makes the playoffs in hockey.
Not everyone.
Not my Flyers.
Not the
You got to
Islanders.
stink.
My Flyers
to not make the
last year.
playoffs for 5 years.
That's true.
Well,
You've got to be bad to not make the playoffs for 5 years.
Look at Winnipeg.
How proud a franchise this once was.
It once was.
They're broken.
Well, I mean, there was at one point they had the longest streak of making the playoffs along with the Detroit Red Wings.
Flyers were in that same category too. They didn't miss the playoffs either. And look what they're doing the past couple years.
So, Mike, you are a man of such wonderful wisdom.
Am I?
Yes.
God.
This is what we discussed.
I've got these kids snowed.
I want you to give a piece of advice right now to the Giant fan out there because they don't know what to experience. Yeah, because they don't know what to do with themselves. They're 0-4.
Yeah, we were discussing this off air.
What do you tell
to
the Giant fan
tell them
so that they could wake up this morning, go to work, and
I tell
be
them
okay
in a
with
few.
their lives.
I tell them in a few weeks, go to Ann Arbor when Rutgers visits, and then count your stars. Now, all right, listen.
Well,
this is
you forgot that's what Antosh and I are doing in a couple weeks.
Right. Get on a flight with you guys. Stay at the Graduate.
We're not
or
staying
the
there,
Red
though.
Roof Inn, whichever one.
In between that.
Motel 6.5.
I heard a little bit on the way back from Chili's on Saturday night, where I watched the first half of the game.
Ugh.
I heard
watching.
a little bit of you and Tim going at it a little bit.
On the postgame or halftime?
Just at halftime.
Did you hear?
While I was
postgame.
stuck in traffic,
geez.
while I was stuck in traffic on River Road because of the mass halftime exodus crossing the street. Took me 10 minutes to get through
I left
that.
before halftime.
Okay.
It was terrible to watch.
And you were calling the game. No, I'm kidding.
I was no, I was not calling the game. Thank
Bum,
God.
bum, ching. Listen. John Newman, one of our alums, okay, posted this on Twitter, and I kind of took it a step further. Shiana's first year, 2 wins.
No.
Ashes.
No.
Let him finish.
Oh my God!
I know.
You can't compare. You can't compare this.
You can't. I mean, it was worse then.
You know what?
It was clearly worse then. It was worse then because they were losing by the same scores
they weren't
to teams
established.
that weren't as good. But
I get
no,
it.
but listen.
Go ahead.
But listen.
I'm going to dispute this immediately.
Ohio State now. Even Ohio State now. When Rutgers was in that Big East, Virginia Tech and Miami were national championship contenders every year. They were getting their butts blown out by them.
So what's different?
The 2002 Rutgers team, Greg's second team.
Were they 1-11 that year?
Greg's second team. Just think about this. Jonathan Lewis the other day, I know it was Morgan State. Jonathan Lewis ran for 4 touchdowns.
And then threw for 1.
Do you know how many touchdowns Rutgers ran for in all of 2002?
4.
4. They didn't have a single player, either receiver or running back, with over 400 yards. This team would crush Greg's second team.
Well, here's something you have to understand.
Ted Trump and Ryan Cubitt and a young Ryan Hart were the quarterbacks on that team.
Well, here's something you have to understand, though.
Ted Trump.
When you have to examine
Donald Trump would have been better.
all right. Well, now that we're back on the subject of Rutgers football, did you hear our rant this morning?
No, I missed it. Unfortunately,
Okay, well,
I was walking the kids to school.
Well, I was going off because
Walking the kids.
and I walking. What are you walking a dog? walking the kids?
I was walking I was taking them to school. We were walking to school. I was walking the kids.
Walking
to
the
school.
kids. All right. So this morning, and Mike was kind of actually taken aback by this because I was just going off this morning.
I had to calm him down.
You know,
Wow.
I mean, to me at this point, and Mike did. He was the voice of reason this morning because he goes.
I usually am.
They have almost cured the underlying problems with the off the field stuff in this program. I will give Ash and Pat Hobbs all the credit in the world for that. But the reason why they're so bad this year has been terrible coaching. They literally, as I mentioned before, have admitted to coaching. They have admitted to coaching to the point where they want to keep it close. They don't coach to win at this point. Jerry Kill has said, "My job is to keep it close." That to me is horrendous. What recruit would want to come here?
That to me says
that means they have no faith.
That they know they're not good enough right now to win.
It doesn't matter.
Not good enough.
It doesn't
to
matter,
win right now.
Mike. You don't understand. From a mentality, I get. I only play high school football, but from the mentality of somebody, if you're a player and you hear a coach saying, "We're not good enough. We're coaching to keep this game close." The last thing you want to hear as a player, even if you know as a player your team is horrendous.
But what does that mean? What does that mean?
That means you're not coaching to win.
But what does that mean? What does that mean you're doing on a field to me?
That means what? First of all, if you're a prospective high school athlete, and we only have 4 minutes here, but if you're a prospective high school athlete, you want to come. You're thinking about Rutgers.
No, but I mean, what does that mean in a game that you're playing to keep it close? What does that mean? You're trying to control. You're trying to control the ball a little bit. You're trying to have possession of the ball a little bit.
Playing to keep it close means you're not. You don't want to lose 56-0. You want to lose 56-20.
No, I don't know if that's. I don't know if that's what it means.
Yes, it is. No, it's exactly.
To me, what that means is you're maybe a little less aggressive than you normally would be, because here's the problem. If you are aggressive and you throw that pick early and you go down by 2 touchdowns early, they're not good enough to come back from 2 touchdowns. Ohio State could come back down from 21-0. Rutgers can't put itself in a position early in a game to be down big by taking chances that other teams that are much more talented and have much more depth can take. And so that's what I take it to mean, is that they're playing to keep the game close. And I don't take that to mean to lose close. I mean, you want to keep the games low scoring. You want to have as few possessions for both teams as possible. If you start to get in a shootout, you're going to lose the game.
But let me finish.
Mike, they're also doing a terrible job at that. Like, I actually agree.
I don't
with you
think they
in
have
this
the
situation.
talent.
No, Mike. Okay, there's no running. There's no offensive game plan to these games. The only offensive game plan is not taking a chance. And I agree with you. They shouldn't be taking a chance. But there's no running philosophy. There's no running by. Okay, there's many running backs, right? We don't know which ones are going to be in which situations. They make Gus Edwards, who's a big back, who should be an interior runner, run jet sweeps.
Let me ask you a question.
It doesn't make sense.
Is
they
Gio,
don't have a regular passing game.
Is Gio a guy who should be anywhere considered to be the starting quarterback?
No. Well,
how long did it take? How long did it take to name Kyle Bolin a starting quarterback?
The whole summer.
Okay, there's your answer. There's your answer.
But
there's
Mike,
not enough. There's and Kyle Bolin may be an okay quarterback. There is not.
Here's my thing.
There is not at any point enough. There's not enough talent. There's not enough depth on this team, and you are
more
going,
than last year.
And I know people are going, "Oh, they might win one game this year." You know what? They might win one game this year because now the secondary is so banged up. There's literally nobody back there. You know what? Next man up is you, Kosko. You're going to be the next guy. You could go as a walk-on right now and play quarterback for this
if I
team.
Could long snap, I could be on the team.
They asked Chris Ash afterwards. They said, nobody had a catch tonight. Why was that?
He said, we didn't pass.
Because we didn't catch any.
All right. So
here's brilliant, but true.
Mike, here's my last point.
But they don't put their players in positions. You know what I mean? I understand, Mike. I completely agree with you. But they don't put their players in positions. Jerome Washington is this big body receiver. You can't make him run a 5-yard route, turn around, and throw a ball on a 5-yard route.
Mike,
coach. They don't
catch the ball
they
too.
Don't
you gotta catch the ball.
Yeah, but you know what, Mike? If you get the ball, if they throw to you the ball, on the first series, and then they don't throw to you again until 2 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, what are the chances you're going to catch that ball?
All right.
They don't utilize the talent. Yeah, you could say
I'm gonna have to talk
even
him
if they
down
utilize the talent.
Mike, here's my last point before we sign off. They're in a worse situation now because they're going up against better recruiting teams. They're in a bigger recruiting hole than they were when Schiano took over. You can't. This is why you can't. And I'm gonna leave the show with this. You can't make the comparison.
I'm leaving the show.
You can't make the comparison with Ash and Schiano just because they're in a bigger recruiting hole. You mentioned there's national championship contenders in Virginia Tech and Miami. You can't compare.
I'm just trying to make the point is
he's in a way deeper hole.
I'm just trying to make the point is
way deeper hole.
I wouldn't have been surprised if they won 5 games this year. I might have been a little surprised if they won 6. I would not have been surprised if they lost 1 game. If they won 1 game, and I've said that, and they're
that goes back to the
this
coaching
doesn't
and
shock
the
me.
This lack of good coaching.
This doesn't shock me. But hey, it's gonna be 3 or 4 years before they're remotely competitive, and they still may not beat Ohio State. They couldn't beat West Virginia in the Big East.
That's also true.
Forever. So they may never beat Ohio State.
I'll give you that. All right, that's gonna do it for us. Thank you, Mike Pavlichko, as always, for joining us in a surprise guest spot. That's gonna do it for us. Make sure to tune in every Monday, 8 to 9 a.m. for Mike and I's daily or weekly spiels on Rutgers and everything professional sports as well. Make sure to keep it locked for further programming here on 88.7 WRSU FM in New Brunswick.